In this video, we will look at various mechanisms that describe the movement of a substance across the membrane of the absorbing cell. We will consider 4 different mechanisms: active transport, passive diffusion, facilitated diffusion, and endocytosis. Let's first look at active transport. In this case, a substance moves across the cell membrane against a chemical or electrical gradient. This transfer is mediated by a carrier. So in this case, the substance binds to another substance that we call a carrier that temporarily carries the substance to the other side of the membrane, and it releases it there. We can see that in this animation, where the substance first binds to a carrier, and then that carrier takes that substance to the inside of the cell where it releases it. Now, this type of transport requires energy. There is also a risk to that transfer because there can be a competitive inhibition by other substances that may bind to the carrier substance. As a result, the binding site may not be available for the substance to latch on to the carrier. And we can see that here in the second animation, where the binding site is taken up by another substance and therefore not available for the original substance to bind and transfer with the carrier into the cell. The second mechanism of absorption is the passive diffusion. In this case, a substance passes through the cell membrane simply by diffusion due to a concentration gradient, and that transfer continues until an equilibrium in concentration is reached on both sides of the membrane wall. We can see that here in this animation, where the outside has a higher concentration of a substance, and then due to passive diffusion, some of the substance molecules transfer into the cell, and that transfer continues until the concentration is same on both sides of the membrane wall. No energy or any carrier substance is required for passive diffusion. The third type of mechanism is called facilitated diffusion. In this case, no energy is required for the transport of the substance into the interior of the cell. Here, a carrier substance is a protein molecule. The protein molecule, which is also present on the outside of the cell membrane, binds with the substance and then carries it across the cell wall into the interior of the cell. So the protein molecule facilitates the diffusion of the substance. The fourth type of mechanism is called endocytosis. In this case, when the substance arrives at the membrane surface, it enfolds onto it, and then the substance is simply pulled into the cell across the cell wall, and it transfers into the interior of the cell. So in summary, we have looked at 4 different mechanisms by which substances get absorbed into the cell.